19, I'll need to remove you if you don't share with me which outlet and your name, just so I'm aware of everybody who is on. But with that, I will hand it right over to PA Grewal to begin.
Thank you very much, Shannon. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with you all to talk about these great new changes in our commercial driver's licensing programs. We're proud to introduce the Fighting Delays Building Faster Act, and the legislation is going to take direct action to protect Ontario's roads, strengthen public safety, and support our trucking industry. This act is going to close long-standing loopholes in our licensing system and ensure that every driver in Ontario meets the same rigorous standards. And we're introducing visa and work permit verification for all applicants, and anybody applying for an Ontario's driver's license will need to prove their legal status and residency in the province. Licenses for temporary residents will now match the length of their work or study permits, and visitors will no longer be able to obtain commercial driver's licenses. And we're ending the automatic recognition of foreign driving experience from countries that don't have a formal licensing agreement with Ontario. And this means applicants from non-reciprocal jurisdictions that will have to go through Ontario's full graduated licensing system, ensuring their skills are met to our safety standards. And finally, we're raising the bar for our commercial drivers. Before applying for a commercial Class A test, all new drivers will now need at least 1 year of Canadian driving experience, which gives them real, local, on-road training before operating heavy vehicles that share our highways every day. These are common sense reforms that are protecting families, supporting honest workers, and we're going to make sure our roads are safe for everyone. Our message is clear: Ontario is open for business, but we'll never compromise on safety, and we'll make sure Ontario continues to be a national leader of road safety. With that, I'm happy to open it with any questions from the media, and we can further discuss these changes.
All right, thank you. So first, I think I'm going to start with Bill with Greca TV.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, PA Grewal. And as I understand, the new measures in your jurisdiction are included in the, as you said, the Fighting Delays Building Faster Act 2025. And I have a couple of questions. The first one is that, do you have any examples of fraud? We hear a lot that proxy drivers impersonate somebody else, either for the written test or the driving test. And also, do I understand that this restriction with Canadian experience applies only to commercial drivers, not the private car drivers? Is that correct? And my final question is that I want to congratulate the government for the initiatives of for the speed cameras. And my question is, do you know why the minister who introduced, at least to the criticism of the opposition, is that he introduced this measure some time ago? What changed his mind? Thank you.
Absolutely, that's a broadly packed question, but I'll try touching on all basis points. When it comes to cracking down on fraud, our government has been involved over the last few years in various investigations that take a look at fraud that was being conducted through members that worked in Circle, through members in other agencies, and through driving schools. So there were about 183 drivers that were suspended that were caught up in this fraud, where, like you said, somebody may have been using an earpiece, somebody may have been using a different mechanism, where we were able to prove that that license was obtained fraudulently. So those drivers were then suspended and penalized for that. We're cracking down across the board when even it came to our driving schools, sending out secret shoppers to ensure that those driving schools are not misrepresenting the services that are being sold within this province. And with the legislation that we brought forward yesterday, we're making sure we're closing that final end of loopholes. For example, I can give is if somebody comes from another country with a driver's license, which we can't verify here in Ontario. Previously, that driver's license could have been well made and manufactured fraudulently here in Ontario as well. And you never know if it's real or not. And those licenses were being used to bypass our safety standards in the sense that we're using this experience that never existed to go ahead and then bypass the experience requirements here in Ontario and go straight to your G. So we've seen a lot of those movements happen over the last few years for people trying to fast track their licenses using these type of fraudulent documents. So we're making sure that everybody goes through the rigorous testing that Ontario is known for our driver's licenses by closing that loophole, only having that for our reciprocal countries that have that agreement in place with us. And then for those that have legitimate, verifiable experience from other countries, there will be a little bit of leniency for them, but they still have to go through their G2 and G testing processes. They won't be able to bypass any of those. And we're going to make sure that they have the experience necessary. I believe the second part of your question was towards the commercial drivers. We have a 1-year waiting period for the commercial drivers. So somebody that has come to Canada and has obtained their G license, for them to receive their Class A license, there's a waiting period of 1 year after completing their G license. That's the only way they can go ahead and get a commercial driver's license. And that way we know that they have experience driving on our roads here in Ontario, because you can tell with the weather conditions that we face, that experience is absolutely necessary. And to your final point, when it comes to the speed cameras, that legislation was introduced before we came into government around 2017, and then that was carried over and passed by our government in 2018 with the sole focus of looking at school zones and community safety zones. But over time, we've seen that this is now blown up into hundreds of cameras being placed across municipalities. We see that this has become a cash grab, not a safety measure. And when we take a look at the number of tickets being issued by these particular cameras, they're rising year over year over year. Municipalities are making more and more money off of these cameras, and that doesn't mean that people are slowing down. If you see an increase in numbers, for example, the over 70,000 tickets issued off of one camera in Toronto, several thousand tickets being issued off of cameras in Brampton. And with those numbers steadily increasing, that just means more and more people are being ticketed and they're not actually slowing down. So we want to invest in speed calming measures. We don't want to see drivers being penalized on the road. And some of the things that we see that have come up with these speed cameras are even the tickets that are coming through. You see tickets that sometimes at 11 kilometers over. But if we take a look at the facts, if you see a police officer with a radar gun, most of the time, if you're within 9, 10, 11 kilometers, they're not going to pull you over as long as you're driving safely and adhering to road conditions, right? So we need to make sure that drivers aren't being unfairly penalized while following those rules. Where we're going to introduce speed calming measures, whether that be through roundabouts, more speed bumps, traffic warning lights, the yellow amber lights that tell people to slow down, as well as the giant your speed camera monitors, which aren't going to be that small anymore. What we're used to seeing on the roads are these tiny little screens that say your speed 32, or if you're doing a good job, or if you're over speeding. They're going to be large screens that are going up over 5 feet wide that are going to be telling drivers to slow down. And we're going to introduce these measures and actually have real action instead of more and more tickets flowing into city coffers.
Thank you very much, P.A. Grewal.
All right. Next, I'm going to go to Nitin at Prime Asia.
Thank you, Shannon. Good morning, MPP Grewal. It's very good that Ontario government is acting now, cracking down on fraud in Ontario's licensing system. It was much required. I have two questions, and first question is, like many people on the social media, they are advertising openly that you can get a license in $1,000 or $1,200. That is open post on social media. And even recently, Peel Police arrested 8 individuals who were making all these fake driving licenses, SIN card, PR card. And those fake licenses are already into the system. What mechanism government or the ministry has to catch those who already in the system and got those fake plastic driving licenses, how we can catch them in this scenario, and how to stop the social media fraud advertising? Is any plan ministry have on that?
So we've been cracking down on fraud over the last several years, whether it's secret shopper investigations, whether it's going into our own government services and taking a look. We've seen investigations by the OPP. We've seen internal investigations by MTO looking over all of these different agencies that are operating and the fraud that is stemming out of within the system and outside of the system. That's precisely why we're coming in to close these loopholes, especially for those fake licenses that were being produced to show international experience. We're cracking down on that to ensure that only reciprocal countries then have access to bypassing some of those real life experiences that we require in the province of Ontario. And to your point, when it comes to fake driver's licenses, absolutely, we're going to be pushing forward through our Ministry of Attorney General to see what measures we can further enhance to continue cracking down on all of that. I don't see these licenses being inputted into actual services. When police go and see those licenses, they're able to tell that they are fake. And once they introduce those into the system or an officer punches that in, they'll know that that license is not a valid Ontario license. So, I mean, they may be defrauding the general public, but they won't be defrauding law enforcement agencies.
My follow-up is Ontario government, Premier Doug Ford, they decided to run an anti-tariff ad in United States. And now President Trump, they suspended all the trade talks with Canada. So still the government feel that that was unnecessary because they said that Ronald Reagan ad is not true, is fault, and the Canada is suffering because of that. Or is government taking a back step or repenting on that? What is the government stand after the Trump's statement?
For President Trump's statement, for the ads that we've ran, first of all, the quote by Ronald Reagan is absolutely true, but I'm going to refer back to the Premier's comments and the Premier's messaging on that. So I would suggest that please follow up with the Premier's office and he'll be commenting on that directly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll go to Logan at Uthean newspaper.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Grewal. Nice to see you again.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, and I have a few questions. So thank you for your very useful information. You are very open and honest. From that, I can learn. My question is, it's not about the licensing, but the licenses are behind my questions. So, you know, the critical situation of the province is the crimes are increasing. The accidents also became crimes now, you know, violation of traffic rules and other stuff. So we are also sometimes victimized by the driving nature and behavior. So when the crimes increase, the law enforcement sector should be updated or strengthened. I want to know from you whether the government is taking steps. And another question is about the 407, but sorry to ask the question because I had no one. I approached so many people when Tanikasalam was the associate minister. His office did help me as a not only as a media person. I'm asking the question as a driver who is driving, because we travel a lot. We are not always sitting in the office. The 407, about the 407, I'm asking you why the Ministry of Transportation or the Service Ontario is functioning as a collection agency for 407, as it is not a government organization. Because I have some issues, you know, is continuing. When I get billing the bills, it's not true. So while I have issues not resolved, when I go to the Ministry of Transportation or Service Canada, they say, "Oh, you owe 407 so much." I said that we have some issues still not resolved. They never satisfied me. So, but no, so I had to pay in full. About half of the payment
Logan, what's the question?
Yeah, I have already mentioned about the question. It's about the 407.
Okay.
You know, my question was, I asked why the Ministry of Transportation or the Service Ontario is functioning as a collection agent. You understand, Shannon, now?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You understand?
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much,
Yeah,
Logan,
go ahead.
for the question. It's great to see you again as well. So first point I'm going to look at is the conversation you had on crime. Our government is absolutely doing everything we can to crack down on crime, support our law enforcement agencies, ensure they're equipped with the tools and resources necessary to then take action. We've taken a look at a lot of the investments that we've made, especially in the GTA, and I'm eagerly awaiting the new arrival of our helicopter fleet that is going to come in and patrol the GTA from the skies, and as well as the many other resources that we're providing our police agencies, such as free training for police officers. The Ontario Police College will offer free tuition for anybody who wants to be a police officer, and we've expanded seats, and we've done so much more to make sure that we continue to keep our streets safe, as well as we're introducing further legislation as well that's going to support the police in apprehending those that are involved in dangerous driving. So we're making sure that we keep Ontario as a national leader to keep our roads safe. And as part of your second question, when it comes to the 407, absolutely, when it came to the provincially owned portions of the 407, we've removed tolls on all of those fronts, and people in the Durham region are really appreciating that, and that's something we had control over, and we were able to remove those particular tolls. But when it comes to any fees related to our licenses of monies that are unpaid, regardless of where they came from, it could be from a speeding ticket, it could be from a parking ticket, it can be from any fine that generates off of that license plate. Those fines need to be resolved with the agency that has placed that fine on that particular plate before renewing or obtaining a new plate or selling your vehicle. That's just how things operate in the province of Ontario. So if there's a particular question that you may have in terms of a personal, I'm more than happy to take it on a case-by-case basis. If there was something that was in the sense that was fraudulently, or not fraudulently, but was disputed with the 407 that you were required to pay, and then if they paid you back or not, we can definitely take a look at that on a case-by-case basis and have that conversation on the side.
Okay, thank you. So I don't have any more questions. I'll just, I don't believe. Is there anybody else, if you wanted to raise a hand, if you had a question, I can call on you. Otherwise, we can wrap up for the afternoon. Okay, I think that we are good to wrap up. So PA Grewal, if you had any final thoughts, and then we will close.
In closing,
I have a question. Excuse me.
I think we have one more question, Shannon.
Is that Alex?
Question. Yes.
Okay, Alex with Mingpao. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm Chinese media from Mingbao News. My question is two. One is when this new law take effect, I mean it's a driver license new rules. When is take effect?
Thank you very much. That's actually a great question. We're introducing this legislation now, and then within a matter of weeks, we'll be receiving royal assent. So I would imagine by the third week of November, if passed, this law will be taking effect.
Okay, thank you. Second question is about how to the foreign drivers get to Ontario's driver license. I mean, he must take a whole processing. That means from test drive one to drive two to drive three to drive.
Yeah, absolutely. So under this new regulation, those drivers will have to take all of the tests and then adhere to the waiting periods, unless they're from a reciprocal country that has driver's experience. Then we're able to waive some of the waiting periods, but they will still be required to do their their G2 and G licensing. And as well as if they'd like to become a commercial driver, they would have to wait 1 year before obtaining their commercial driver's license here in Ontario. However, if they're from a reciprocal country where they do already have their commercial driver's license and they've been operating for many years, that experience can then be taken into account when issuing their licenses here, and that can potentially waive that waiting period. But it all depends on those reciprocal agreements, how long you've been licensed in those countries that we recognize, and what experience you're bringing to the table. But for the most part, majority of the drivers will be going through the route of doing all of the rigorous testing and then doing their G1, G2, G, and then going for their Class A if they choose to move forward in the commercial division, as well as those that are here on work permits. This is very important as well. The license will be only issued for the duration of their work permit, no longer, no less.
So what time the short time from the G2 to G? What situation, what conditions I can short time this period?
I feel like what we can do is we can email you a little bit of a docket that goes through all of the technical terms and details, and then that way it'll be a little bit easier to explain these particular changes. But it's all on a case-by-case basis, depending on where the individual has come from, what licensing experience they have or they don't have, and then based on that, the timelines do vary.
Last question. So for the Hong Kong and the Chinese driver license is recognized by Ontario?
I don't believe that it is. India is not recognized. I don't believe Hong Kong is recognized either. So that experience won't be taken into reciprocal effect. But let me just share the list with you guys on the countries that are on that reciprocal list. If you can just give me 1 second, I'll just pull it up for us here. The countries will be, like an example here I can give is Australia, Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Great Britain, Hungary, Denmark, Japan, South Korea, New Zealand, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, Switzerland, Taiwan, the United States. So these would be the countries that we have reciprocal agreements with, and the rest would be subject to review. And
so where can I find these countries list?
We can provide that to you, and we can get those documents over to you with the timelines and the list of the reciprocal countries that currently have that with Ontario.
Okay, thank you.
Couldn't you post it on your website?
Absolutely, we'll get you the details. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Your website?
I can share the information after this call with everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, this is very useful, Shannon. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Okay, so that was the final question that I have. Rami, I just saw, I think, okay. So I think we can wrap up for the afternoon. PA Grewal, if you have any final questions, and then we will close.
I just want to thank you all for joining us here today. The ethnic media is the backbone of Ontario, delivering news into communities that firsthand can hear in their own language of what's happening in our province. And it's a very tough job that you all do. And I just wanted to thank you for relaying this information back to all of our communities. And thank you for joining us here on this call. If you ever have any further comments or questions that you'd like to hear from me or would like to have me on your show, I'm more than happy. Please send us a request. Once again, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon. And I will follow up after with the recording and the information that we can provide to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.